And then pledge of allegiance.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Janine, can I get a roll call?
Mr. Campion?
Here.
Mrs. King?
Here.
Mr. Herner?
Here.
Mr. American?
Here.
Mr. Schuler?
Here.
Mr. Borbeck?
Here.
Mayor O'Brien?
Here. Now read the Statement of Compliance with Public Meetings, Open Public Meetings Act. Pursuant to the requirements of the New Jersey Open Public Meetings Act, notice of this meeting was included in the annual meeting notice filed in the office of the Borough Clerk, posted on the Borough website and on the bulletin board in the municipal building, published as a legal notice in the Co-Star newspaper, and mailed to those requesting notice and providing payment in accordance with Borough policy. Okay, the agenda, before we approve it, has quite a few additions. We have resolution number 65, which is appointing a borough engineer. Resolution number 66, which is appointing an alternate prosecutor. Resolution number 67, which is an alternate defendant, and public defendant, sorry, alternate public defender, and Resolution 68, which is excusing Councilman Borbeck of absences that he's already incurred. So with those additions, can I get a approval of the agenda?
Motion. I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
The next on the agenda is approval of the minutes of the executive session for February 8th, 2016. Can I get a motion?
I'll make a motion. Second.
Mr. Campion?
Yes.
Mrs. King?
Yes.
Mr. Herner?
Yes.
Mr. American?
Yes.
Mr. Schuler?
Yes.
Mr. Borbeck?
Abstain.
Thank you.
And then I need an approval for the executive and regular session minutes for February 22nd, 2016.
I'll make that motion.
Second.
Can I get a roll call?
Mr. Campion?
Abstain.
Mrs. King?
Yes.
Mr. Herner?
Yes.
Mr. American?
Yes.
Mr. Schuler?
Yes.
Mr. Borbeck?
Abstain.
Thank you.
We don't have any presentations or scheduled public hearings, which brings us to the first public comment section. This public comment section is for agenda items only. Anybody wishing to speak on any of the items on the agenda, including the additions that I mentioned, please come forward, state your name and your information. Seeing no hands, can I get a motion to close the public comment section?
Motion.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Next, we have two items for discussion. The first one is the Sustainable Jersey Municipal Program.
Mayor, as a point of comment, I contacted them based on Ms. Crippen's request, and it doesn't need to be a resolution. I can go in there into their program and give them our new primary contacts. So we don't necessarily have to do it. If council wants to, I'm sure that we can, but it's not required to appoint the two new individuals as our contact.
Well, at the council's discretion, I guess. Does anybody have objection to Janine just appointing the contacts? Does anybody have a need to make a resolution?
Do we need to vote on that?
All right. No, then no, I just wanted to hear your opinion that if we needed a vote. We
So
don't need a vote.
I will make the change.
Yeah.
Great.
And then the next item was the painted town pink.
Yes, the other thing, I got a contact from Meridian about that there was a resident that was volunteered to chair for Spring Lake Heights. And then it kind of got a little convoluted, and I still don't have an exact answer. The volunteer may be from Spring Lake, representing Spring Lake. So at my conversation with the young lady today, she was still having a hard time getting in touch with the individual to find out which town she's representing.
Okay.
In any event, if the woman is representing Spring Lake Heights, fine. If it turns out it's Spring Lake, Mary Ellen and I in the office will volunteer and act as the liaison for Spring Lake Heights and Meridian for the program. I think it's a wonderful campaign for the month of May, so we will work on getting that accomplished if it turns out the individual is representing Spring Lake.
Okay,
So that's kind of where we're at the moment.
I just wanted
Go
to
ahead.
add, fantastic program, and it's very nice of you to do that.
Glad we can do that. So that's kind of where that's at the moment. They do, either way, we have to register. Meridian provides a banner that we can put on display in town. They do supply bows that you can put out. And then they make suggestions for fundraisers and that kind of thing. I'm not quite sure how far we get into doing all of that. But the only other thing I was going to see if they provide a speaker, and that maybe we can either use our facility here or use the community center, that someone will maybe come and do a talk with regard to getting mammograms for our
okay,
residents.
so it's a breast cancer awareness
Correct. Correct.
talk, okay.
Can we see about the size of the banner? They could use the firehouse where they used to put their banners across 71. You have that ability there.
I think you do
cooperation?
have the availability. I'm not sure if you need.
I think it takes a state permit every time we put it up there. I think so. I don't know.
If not, we can do it here, we can do it even. I will check,
Depending how
most
big it is,
definitely. The Veterans Park, the Freedom Park on the corner there. Yes.
In the meantime, we'll check and see how easy it is to get a permit.
Mhm. The only other, one last thing I had, and I don't know whether the cost and what the possibilities are, I don't know if that's you have seen in some towns, they do like the paint on the line. I don't know if that's something that we can do. Just on the line, I don't know if there's a
Paint the
state
line
thing
where?
that we could do, or maybe just on Brighton we could do it.
Because, yeah, if it was on 71, we probably have to.
Probably have to get the state, so maybe if we just maybe can do something from, on Brighton here. I don't
Or
know how
Ocean
council would feel about.
Ocean Road's our road.
Ocean Road. So I'm just putting that out there, I mean, we can discuss it some more. Like I said, I'm not even sure that we're going to be doing the chairing, but.
Okay, well, let us know.
Okay.
Well, the only thing I want to bring up is I'm looking through this, there's a note that says, please note only towns who have township approval by March 25th will receive a banner and bows. So I don't believe we have another meeting before then. And so what is township approval?
So, okay,
We have a meeting on the 20th.
we have a meeting on the 24th. I don't know if it entails a resolution
Okay,
or.
I just don't want to miss that window.
20.
Our meeting's on the 24th.
Yeah, that's what I had mentioned.
Well, we're not against it.
Okay, we
You
vote
want to
on it
support
right
it,
now?
vote to support it right now, and then
Either
Jimmy
way.
Tucci has
Just
to.
do a vote of general support.
I'll move
Okay,
that.
yeah.
I'll make a motion to do that.
Yeah, I'll second.
Can we get a roll call then to vote in support of Janine being able to have the authority to enter us into the Paint the Town Paint program?
First,
So we need,
What?
American. I second.
thank you. Mr. Campion?
Yes.
Mrs. King?
Yes.
Mr. Herner?
Yes.
Mr. American?
yes.
Mr. Schuler?
Yes.
Mr. Horvath?
Yes.
Thank you.
Great, thank you, Janine. Jeff, do you have anything else?
I am done.
Oh, you have something on Paint the
I don't
Town?
know, I don't know if this is, if we can't do the line down 71, maybe the parking lots at the parks, the stripes there.
I will work with our
Sure.
new Director of Public Works.
They have to be corrected after the month.
Right, right. And we involve our recreation. Maybe go to
Lucky.
parks, I don't know.
Yeah, I think it marks.
All right, so that brings us to our mayor and council reports. I'll start to my right with Councilman Hearn.
Okay. I do actually have rec info, very little though. The summer camp will start on June 27th and run through August 5th. Camp hours are 9 a.m. to 12 noon, Monday through Friday. Eligible children must be entering kindergarten through 8th grade as of September 2016. Registration will begin in early April. At the next council meeting, I'll have the exact registration dates and the fees available. Okay. We're also looking to hire a summer rec, a camp director to be on site running the day-to-day. If there's anyone that knows anyone that's interested, let us know, come in, take out an application, and we'll be putting our ads in the CoStar soon. Okay. That's it.
Councilman Campion.
It's that time, it's budget time. We've spent some time working on the budget. Borough Administrator Delaney has been extremely helpful. We've had a couple meetings to go over some items. We're very close on where we want to be on that. We have a few more meetings to do, but based on last year, our current fund revenues met anticipated levels. The water, sewer, utility revenues also met their projections. Our annual financial statement and annual debt statements were filed. We'll get copies with our budget stuff. I think we're going to aim for Friday the 18th is when the council will see the first draft of what we've been working on for the budget. We're going to shoot for an introduction and to go over it for March 28th. I'd like to go over it and then introduce it the same night because there's no reason to delay for additional meetings as we've done in the past. It just sort of drags it on longer. And then April 11th would be our public hearing for that, if everything works out accordingly. So we're well within our lines here of where we're going to be for adoption, so we're on track. But some of the stuff we worked on, and Tom will remember since he wore this hat last year, we've gone over all our borough equipment, we've inventoried all the items that we have, we know their life expectancy, we've assigned values to it, we know what it's going to take to replace equipment. We're actually looking far ahead so that we don't end up in a spot where we have to bond a ton of money and take a sudden increase. So we're really trying to plan ahead and look further than just next year in our budgeting this year. So on the 18th or on the 28th, we will go over that in depth. That's all I have.
Yeah, I think the important note there to the public is that if you want to have input into that budget, then
28th?
the 28th is probably the meeting that you want to come to speak on that, because that's when we're going to, as a council, be discussing. Councilman Morbeck.
Nothing at this time, Mayor.
Councilman King. Councilwoman King. Sorry.
That's okay. Something has been brought to my attention, and I want to address it very briefly. It appears that there are some people talking about training for our police department in the area of autistic children and disabled children, and I would like to say the following on behalf of the chief and myself and the council. Our police department is fully trained. They have been trained since 2010. They are going to receive additional training coming up probably within the month. And our chief, as a matter of fact, has been in contact with the POAC, which is Parents of Autistic Children, in the past and going forward in the future. This next training session that is taking place will be held by the Chiefs Association of the County of Monmouth. John Sorrentino, the Chief of Seabright, will be in charge of it. And I will be updating everyone when that takes place. And that's all I have.
So when you find out when that training is, you'll let us know?
Yep.
Anything else?
That's it.
Councilman Schuler.
The only thing stated in the last meeting that we received the grant for update of the community center. We've got a proposal from an architect now on the renovations. This will be discussed at the next meeting when we have complete information.
Councilman Mayor King.
Nothing.
Okay, that is the end of the council reports and announcements, which brings us to the reports, notices, and correspondence. In the correspondence, we have our monthly police department report has been received for January and February, the municipal court revenue for February. We have a public hearing notice for April 5th and May 6th for the Township of Middletown sale of surplus property. A public hearing notice on March 22nd for JCP&L. Monmouth County Regional Health Commission sale of surplus vehicles, an invitation from Monmouth County Improvement Authority, information session, which is April 5th. And a note from the County of Monmouth Mosquito Control Division, treatment operations, and then Verizon Wireless small network notice.
Mayor, you just missed one. It's a public notice for Spring Lake.
Oh, for the permit for living shoreline and berm.
Which I have a question. Of course, this is in Spring Lake Heights, going to be in Spring Lake Heights as well, right? I don't know anything about it. I know that the map that you provided is in Spring Lake. But it's also supposed to extend Shore Road, I believe, up to Route 30, Route 71.
It is my understanding that this phase is limited to that portion of Rec Pond and the shoreline that is east of the railroad trestle, and is therefore limited to Spring Lake, not Spring Lake.
But that, originally they talked about it going all the way up, right? Since, I don't know how they raised that and let the water in on the other side. Kind of crazy. Okay, but as of now, we're not in that money.
That is correct, not for this phase. There are discussions.
Although it would impact us. If the water's higher on that side, it's gonna back into Spring Lake.
Very much in fact.
I don't know, I don't know how we're
It
not
would
going,
potentially impact us.
if it worked, yeah.
In conjunction with this, I think you may be aware that the county is already proceeded, I believe they're about half done with the dredging of Rec Pond. The idea is to also increase the volume capacity at that level as well.
And they're also, are they working on that second pipe? The outflow pipe?
Yes, that second pipe is under active construction. It's approximately 50% done from what I've seen, just in informal discussions as far as the status goes.
So the overall sort of plan is to increase the volume of water that the pond can accept,
Unless it
increase
goes up.
output, and then the third plan would be flood spring. But the berm is supposed to protect the part of Rec Pond that's closer to the shore, to the ocean.
It's a
That
detention.
is true, and I will not stand here and profess all the details or knowledge of all the details. The living shoreline is really intended primarily as to improve the ecology of the pond. There may be side benefits in terms of increasing holding capacity in terms of flooding.
Okay.
But the primary concern and motivation is to improve the
But they're
ecology.
improving, they're raising it to elevation 6. So they are bringing in dirt, it's going to be a berm,
That's what
right? Which will probably be level to the street.
I don't know if the details are reflected here. It is my understanding that it will be approximately a foot to 18 inches higher than the existing shoreline.
But
If you'd like, at one time, there had been an offer for Spring Lake, the parties involved, to make a presentation here. Would you like us to pursue that?
Well, on the Spring Lake side, there's no vegetation there as it is right now, right? It's that sloping road. On ours, they'd have to kill the vegetation to plant new vegetation.
And the focus of this is primarily in removing the abutment that is concrete along Ocean Road, immediately adjacent to Ocean Road.
So, going back to your previous statement, yes, I think that it would be a good idea if they're willing to give us a presentation. I think it would be worth hearing.
Even if it's in Part B of the plan.
We would still like to hear it. If there's another phase that includes us, we'd like to hear it. Yeah.
Before they say this is what we're doing.
Yeah, exactly.
are they going to utilize pumps to pump out Rec Pond when these overflow pipes don't work, or?
It is my understanding that as I think you're all aware, there is an existing pipe that is a long-term presence there, which was extended some 20 years ago or thereabouts. This new pipe will improve and increase the flow capacity by a factor of 3. And the permitting for this also includes the ability, in an emergency, to cut open a trench, as has been done in the recent past. So it's really there are 3 separate components of the permits that deal with the pipeline.
The pipe also is helping the fish migrate in and out of the.
Well,
And so we don't soil their beach with the.
And by the way, not only improving the ability for the spawning fish to enter back in Rec Pond, but that is actually the primary funding source for that project. It's our National Fish and Wildlife Service. I love the fish.
I love it.
All right. That brings us to our ordinance introductions. Get to the next page. You're right, we don't have any ordinances. The first resolution is Resolution R 2016-61. This is a resolution of the Borough Council authorizing a tax lien redemption payment. Can I get a motion on?
I'll make a motion.
Second.
Roll call?
Mr. Campion?
Yes.
Mrs. King?
Yes.
Mr. Herner?
Yes.
Mr. American?
Yes.
Mr. Schuler?
Yes.
Mr. Borbeck?
Yes.
Motion passes.
The next resolution is resolution number R 2016-62, which is a resolution of the Borough Council supporting the declaration of April as Alcohol Awareness Month.
Make that motion?
Second.
Mr. Campion?
Yes.
Mrs. King?
Yes.
Mr. Herner?
Yes.
Mr. American?
Yes.
Mr. Schuler?
Yes.
Mr. Borbeck?
Yes.
Motion passes.
The next resolution is resolution number R 2016-63, a resolution of the Borough Council authorizing an appropriation from the Capital Improvement Fund for preliminary costs to provide licensed site remediation professional services to evaluate the public works facility.
Make that motion?
Second.
Mr. Campion?
Can I, before we get roll call,
Yeah.
I'm sorry, do we know, do we have a firm for this, or does this go out to bid?
We have solicited 2 quotes, and this is putting in place the funding for that. As I think you're aware, the site remediation down there, I guess we're in phase 3 or 4, this goes back some period of time. We initiated the most recent review 2 years ago. This is to update the remediation plan, do some additional testing and monitoring.
Do you know who the companies were that we had?
We had proposals from Woodard and Coran and Air, C, and Rand, and Larence, and Grant and C.
And then the appropriation, just for the public's information, is for $40,000 from the Capital Improvement Fund.
That was my question, thank you.
I mean, DEP, this is DEP, this law to make us have an LSRP. I mean, they're just appointed in the first place to handle this and to coordinate the efforts, whereas before the DEP handled it directly, that's no longer the case. Wrong choice.
Mr. Campion?
Yes.
Mrs. King?
Yes.
Mr. Herner?
Yes.
Mr. American?
Yes.
Mr. Schuler?
Yes.
Mr. Borbeck?
Yes.
The next resolution is resolution number R 2016-64, a resolution of the Borough Council approving payment of the itemized claims as set forth on the March 10th, 2016 bill list.
I'll make that motion.
Second.
Mr. Campion?
Yes.
Mrs. King?
Yes.
Mr. Herner?
Yes.
Mr. American?
Yes.
Mr. Schuler?
Yes.
Mr. Borbeck?
Yes.
Motion passes.
The next resolution is resolution number R 2016-65. This is a resolution of the Borough Council appointing Joseph May as the borough engineer and authorizing an employee employment agreement.
I'll make that motion.
I'll second it.
Roll call, please.
Mr. Campion?
Yes.
Mrs. King?
Yes.
Mr. Herner?
Yes.
Mr. American?
Yes.
Mr. Schuler?
Yes.
Mr. Borbeck?
Yes.
Motion passes.
As Joe May is in the audience, congratulations, Joe. This is an appointment for 1 year. The next resolution is resolution number R 2016-66. Do you have the title of that? I
It
don't
is
have it.
confirming the appointment of Brian Wilton, Esquire, as alternate prosecutor.
I'll make that motion.
Second.
Roll call, please.
Mr. Campion?
Yes.
Mrs. King?
Yes.
Mr. Herner?
Yes.
Mr. American?
Yes.
Mr. Schuler?
Yes.
Mr. Borbeck?
Yes.
Motion passes.
The next resolution is resolution number R 2016-67, and this is for the alternate public defender. Could you read the?
Confirming
The
the
title.
appointment of Rhea Esquire as alternate public defender for the year 2016.
I'll make that motion.
I'll second it.
Roll call, please.
Mr. Campion?
Yes.
Mrs. King?
Yes.
Mr. Herner?
Yes.
Mr. American?
Yes.
Mr. Schuler?
Yes.
Mr. Borbeck?
Yes.
Motion passes.
And the last addition to the agenda was resolution number R 2016-68, and the title of that is?
Resolution of the Borough Council authorizing the absence of a councilman, in this case, Mr. Borbeck.
I'll make that motion.
He had been absent, just for the public's information, he had been absent more than 8 weeks, and our attorney advises that anytime that happens, we should either excuse that action or take action. So we are excusing his absence.
I'll second that.
Thank you.
Roll call, please.
Mr. Campion?
Yes.
Mrs. King?
Yes.
Mr. Herner?
Yes.
Mr. American?
Yes.
Mr. Schuler?
Yes.
Mr. Warbeck?
Abstain and thank you.
All right, that brings us to the public comment section. This public comment section, you can speak on any item, not just agenda items. If you have something to say, please come forward and state your name and address, and address the chair.
Good evening, Paul Murphy, 816 Greenwood Drive, Greenwood Heights. A few things. I had the pleasure, I really don't think it's much of a pleasure, of going through the appeals process for the tax assessment.
Yeah.
I was at the meeting when you had the county people in explaining it, and they did a very nice job. And the way they explained it, it sounds wonderful until you go to appeal your issue. Has anybody on the council gone through this in the last 2 years? Well, I suggest that you should either get in your house or go and sit in there and just experience what goes on in the room. It's intimidating to begin with, because you sit down below, you got the commissioners up in front of you, you got the town representatives over your right, you got computers. You only have a week to prepare. You put your stuff in January, and you get your comparables a week before your appeal process, which gives you no time. You work, you do this stuff. Well, anyway, during my research on this and going through it, I found out that the only time you get a true comparison, which it's supposed to be, is if you appeal. Then you get the houses that's being compared to why your house is being assessed at this time. Everything else during my research, I'm finding that homes are automatically having a percentage increase regardless. I'm finding from 3,500, 4,200, and the homes stay the same. And your assessment goes up that amount. Then when you ask matter of fact, I presented because my home, just the building, went up 6% from last year. And I asked why. I was questioned, do you do any improvements? No, it's exactly the same way it was last year. The council person posed the question to the representatives, and he gave off a diatribe that nobody understood on his mathematical calculations. And she was shaking her head up at the top at the time. Well, anyway, make a long story short, I'm finding out the increase is an automatic. Another person was in there appealing the property, and this person, elderly person, was being assessed $17,000 on her home due to the fact that she had an unfinished attic, and because she had potential of improvements, she had $17,000 added to her assessment, which really made the commissioner's head spin, and which any one of us in this room could be being charged for potential improvements when you're not even intending to do it. If it's not there, how can you be charged for it?
And then when you do the improvement, you get hit again.
You're 100% correct. Probably double. All right. I don't know how many homes we have, but I'm sure there's probably over 2,000 homes in this town to be assessed, and it's going to have to be done every year. I find out that our assessor works Wednesdays, 1 hour a week. How's that going to be possibly done fairly without taking a paintbrush and doing?
They said they were gonna have to increase the hours, I mean, it's definitely gonna take.
But, you know, it's frustrating with that. Going with this potential, I own a corner lot. Most of the other houses. Being on a corner lot, that means the house I live in the homestead section, your home faces catty corner, which limits you, for one, you have setbacks on 2 frontages because you don't have a backyard. And the way your house sits, you can't expand, increase the footprint of your property because of the other setbacks. So potentially, he's saying that because I have a corner lot, it's more desirable, but to improve it, I have less potential, but I'm not getting a decrease.
$17,000 discount for the lack of potential?
Correct, I'm not getting that. So we're you know, the other one doesn't go together. And then when you challenge them, or just, you know, we're trying to have a professional meeting in there, then you get papers pointed at you in your face, you feel belittled, you feel intimidated. It's intimidating to begin with. And we just need some way to make this program work fairly for both the town and the taxpayers. And if you all look at your little postcard that comes in November, You might want to think, there's a lot of the homes and there's people in there, and it wasn't just one time, it was up there, because there was maybe 40 people in there trying to assess their homes. And he doesn't, well, it's really tough to do it because I know what the properties were that I was using to assess what I thought my home was worth. And they're right there, I know that, I lived there for over 20 years. And he's going, well, this house has this house has this. And you're being compared, in the homestead section, you have the Cape Cods. You either have an original condition sitting on the same footprint, and then you have the ones that everything's torn down, except one wall, and you go up to the new height restrictions, which are 36 feet. My home's at 28 feet, so you're not only getting square footage, you're getting cubic feet. And these homes are beautiful, they look lovely. But when you're compared to one of these new construction homes, when your home's still in 1950s, has a 1950 bathroom in it, it's just unfair the way it's working.
So can I ask, I mean, did you win your appeal?
Yeah, I was reduced one time, this time it wasn't. That $4,000 increase was not reduced, which was frustrating also. We just got that information last week.
They said under the new program, we're going to be dealing mostly, you can go right into our assessor as opposed to going out there, is that right? And do you think that would be a better deal if you could come in and appeal right to the assessor sitting in here rather than going out?
He's the one that's telling you what it's worth. You can need a third party because he doesn't agree with anything.
Right.
Jay, we're leaving the system, aren't we?
Oh, there's been no final determination made.
What I wanted to, the point was that this was forced, correct me if I'm wrong, this is basically rammed down our throats by the county.
What you missed in your absence was we actually had the county tax board came and did a presentation to us, and some of the objections that we had to the program were potentially going to be addressed prior to us needing to vote at the end of April. Specifically, in the way the program is currently, not only do you get assessed every year, if you have an appeal and you win your appeal, you would have to re-appeal the next year. There has, according to the county tax board, one of the things that they were going to change about that was that you would get 3 years of, that appeal would be good for 3 years, and the only way that they could raise it after you win an appeal was by a comparable percentage to the properties around you, which had not been the case. So that was one thing that they had addressed, but we were here one night almost till 11 o'clock, being given a very lengthy presentation about the changes that were coming through that program.
All I wanted to say was this was forced down our throats, and a lot of us, well, I certainly wasn't in favor of it, and when we come up to the option of not doing this again, I don't care what the county, I don't trust them, so.
All right, well, my question is, it's in-house person, they work in our town, they work for us. Is there some way that this can be?
We have to scrutinize who our assessor is. It seems to me, finding Whitman is the assessor. If the assessor is fair and he's doing his job, this new system seems to be designed to be much better than the old system where they're locked into 15% up or down or whatever. If the assessor is doing his job and your appraisals are correct, it should be a better system.
I agree with you, but when the information that
We hire
but the information that he's feeding you is the same thing that's on Zillow, which is inflated prices and all the other stuff, that's going on in the house. And like I said, an hour, 1 day a week is kind of tough to be able to do that.
Yeah, I mean, that was one of the things that we had actually talked about in that meeting was, is there a way to both make our assessor more available for the assistance of our townspeople, because 1 hour a week, you're right, is.
Yeah, but to have him, to appeal to him, that's the fox rule in the hen house right there. And so we're not gonna get anywhere with that. And, I agree with you, the concept of this is great if it's done properly. It's just gotta be fair on both sides. And so when you walk away, you don't feel like you, never mind, I don't want to say.
But they had all the information and you were just given a portion of it and expected to present a case,
Yeah, you
right?
don't want to walk away thinking you should have got kissed.
They stack it against you.
But I
Give you a
don't
week.
think most of what we just heard about the process isn't tied to the assessment demonstration program. The appeals process,
No, the
going
appeals
to the board
process
is
is-
the process. Whether we stay in the program or leave, the steps you went through and the nonsense you put up with is the county problem that needs to get fixed.
The part that we
But the
can,
reason I went to the county was because our end of the of the issue wasn't fairly done, so I had to go to the county to appeal it, to get it reduced here. And that step should be out of there. I shouldn't have to go through that.
Well,
Yeah, and that's the part that we need to get right. We need to make sure that, I mean, if our assessor can either explain or, you know, assist people understanding their assessment, he needs to be here more
Didn't
than.
they say that we can do
like
a lot
we
more
want.
with our assessor
I mean,
before
that
we
is
go
one thing-
there? That's our last resort, but she can handle a lot of things right in the office.
But I think
So
to
they
this
said at that
gentleman's
seminar.
point, if our assessor is, the feedback we're getting from residents is that our assessor is not easy to work with and is not accommodating and is not a reasonable person, what are our options?
Or not giving a fair assessment.
I think that that's something that if there's a problem with somebody performing their duties, we need to address that as employers and fix it.
No, that's the point. Like you said, the appeals process is the appeals process, making sure that the assessor is properly doing his job and that is available for questions and/or assistance is our job.
We need to talk to him, Tom. I went, I saw the assessor here on mine, and I commented, you know, you raised my assessment while I'm in the flood zone. And he said, so what, Spring Lake's in flood zone? And so I figured, why am I here?
Yeah, you know, apples to apples, oranges to oranges, not apples to new construction. I'm just asking for fairness, and we shouldn't have to feel like we have to go to Freehold to go through that process.
No, I don't want to, you know, publicly
No, I'm not trying to-
try our assessor here.
No.
But I think the point that we as a council need to make sure that he's doing a job, do everything that we can to have an assessor that is available and helpful is something that we need to seriously look at. If there are complaints, then we need to address them. Yeah.
Yes, sir.
Wasn't it years ago when they gave us the assessment, you'd come here and sit at the table with the assessor and go over everything right at that time?
I mean, I think
don't remember doing that.
that would certainly be helpful. I mean, the week that the assessments are given out,
Yeah, after, yeah.
you know, if he's there all week long, right?
Jay's leaning forward, let's have information.
Did you have something to say?
Well, just to answer Mr. Schuler's question, under the old system, when there was a reassessment or revaluation, that process lasted for about a year or more, and there were what were called, generally referred to as informal hearings. The preliminary numbers were distributed, and then you had a chance to discuss it with the assessor and the reassessment company. Under the new system, it doesn't really lend itself because it is an annual cycle, and the notification goes out, I believe it's November 15th, and the appeal deadline is January 15th. And once that card goes out, the assessor, absent some gross error, is not in a position to make an adjustment. The appeal process is the relief valve to correct any difference of opinion as far as the assessment evaluation.
Right, an example, one of the homes I used for a comparative value, sold in 15 for $350,000, happens to sit across the street from me. I'm looking at their tax bill, and their tax bill went up to $417. It just sold for $350. So what is fair market value? That's what's confusing to me.
Yeah.
But thank you for your time and.
No, thank you for the information.
Thank you for coming back and updating us, I really appreciate it.
Go,
No problem.
John. Let's go.
Go, good.
John Tanner, Vice President. One thing about, I wanted to talk about this tax program before this gentleman got up and mentioned it. One thing about the assessor is, I believe the assessor is a tenured position.
Yes.
And he's not answered to the council. As a fact that, in fact, when we one time tried to speak to him, he said he didn't talk to elected officials about his decision making. So if you think you're going to rein him in somehow, unless he's at fault of some really serious thing, you really probably can't do very much about the assessor. What we could do, though, is try to get out of this assessment demonstration program. And Tom hasn't been here, and this has been brought up several times. And the folks came in, they did their presentation, and I kind of expected today there might be something on the agenda where you guys would talk about it. So when do you expect to decide whether we're in or out. And that needs to get put on an agenda somewhere before April, right?
Wait, yeah, that's the next meeting.
Yeah.
April 30th is when we have to make a decision one way or the other, right?
That's correct.
You know, are we waiting for Trenton?
There was, as I think the council is aware, after the lengthy presentation by the representatives from the tax board, that was followed by a fairly significant amount of information. And I think the primary caution from the representatives of the tax board was that this is still an evolving process, and that April is the deadline. There is more information forthcoming from both the state, the county, and our elected representatives that implemented and approved this pilot project or program, and to get the results of that information before a decision is made. It is our expectation that in April, we will have that come back to the council.
I can't speak for the rest of the council, but I know that the gentlemen who came were very informative, and there were 3 particular areas that I was very concerned about, which is why I wanted to lead the program, and based on their feedback, those concerns were going to be addressed in a manner that I thought was very reasonable.
How about the concern that this gentleman brought up about the unavailability of the tax assessor?
They said we would have to increase the tax
Well, they
Right,
said-
assessment.
okay, then let me quote
But,
something.
and just let me say that, just because someone's tenured,
Yeah.
having never addressed this with him that I know of, and try to reason with him, make him aware of the concerns that we have.
Oh, you can certainly do that, but.
Right, and we would have to go to his professionalism, that he would want to do a job well done.
Right.
And he may have just been doing it for a long time and doesn't know. I would try that first.
Can we go for a shared service and eliminate the position?
Well, you're not eliminating a position if you share it.
If you share it, then you eliminate the tenure.
You still have a position, you're just filling it with another person.
Shared service is always an option.
Yeah, I would have to double check on that.
Yeah,
As I sit here
yeah.
right now, I don't know the answer.
It seems too easy to get rid of a tenured position.
But why don't, I mean, it sounds like we have a lot of questions about a particular employee.
We need to talk.
Rather than, you know, try to make a decision about his long-term employment here in public, why don't we, if we have questions, start with, you know, work with Jay and our borough
Direct
attorney to figure out.
to set up a meeting with him?
I think one of the things that I would like Gary to look into is I believe that tax collectors and assessors are shielded from any political influence. He may be right that we can't say anything to him and he can just cover his ears and I don't hear you.
Yeah, I've not looked at the issue.
So I'd like Gary to
I
look into it
will
and get back to us.
Well, let's have all the facts of
Yeah.
what power we actually have, what we can do to make this better, and we'll revisit it along with the program in April.
But I think Mr. Tenchman's right that the county system is suspect at best.
Well, I just want to read you a quote from the mayor of Wall Township, who dropped out of the program. Wall dropped out of the program. The mayor, this was Mr. Newberry, the former mayor, because since then there's been an election and he was replaced. He said that the program is a tax evaluation full employment program. The demand for the tax assessor would increase dramatically, and they would have constant additional contract work. So this new program is a way for the tax assessors to make more money. If you're gonna ask the assessor to come in an extra day or an extra 2 days a week instead of 1 day, you're gonna have to pay him more. He's not gonna do it for nothing.
I think that's true, but you also have tax assessors like ours who work in how many other towns that it's not, you know,
Right,
he's
well,
not
they
working
may
an
not
hour a
be
week.
physically be able to.
He
do it.
physically can't, which is what they had
But he's
addressed.
gonna have a full schedule of work, and I think that this program is kind of tainted by this.
But
You
if you
know,
were here
what's
when
the
he
real
did the
reason
presentation,
for it?
that was directly tied to empowering him more to address issues at the local
Yeah.
level. So I feel like we're dealing with 2 different issues. We have a local person that there may be issues with, plus the system that we still don't know as much as, I mean, I learned a lot, and between me, I was in favor of pulling out before we had that presentation. When he addressed the concerns and laid out what the long-term plan was, I think that for the residents, it's a lot more beneficial to be in this program based on the information.
And one of the things, right, it provides a rate stabilization, because you don't have that 8 years between your evaluations, where people are at an old rate, and and new people, like you brought to build a house at a new rate, and now you have to make up.
But from what this gentleman is saying, it seems to me that instead of getting screwed every 8 years, we get screwed every year.
I thought it's a new system.
But
But
that's,
under that system, he's right, without the changes that were told to us at that meeting, you're
well,
right.
that's true, especially if you say you have an assessor that's just going to arbitrarily increase it. But whether we're in the system or out of the system, the assessor can still randomly
Right.
increase. So we're talking about separate things here.
I mean,
Pulling out of the
really,
system
This
sounds
system
great.
isn't working.
Yeah, I think the part of the problem is that, I mean, the way that we're raising taxes in this case is based on some very arbitrary things.
Yes.
At the end of the day, you have to ask yourself, if we're going to be utilizing a bad system to raise taxes, which is the best bad system? And that's the question. I don't think you could hear that there's intent and discord up here. We clearly have to come to terms and either be in the system or without the
Well,
system.
the whole
But-
idea of using your property to tax you on your property is kind of absurd, because your property, you don't produce anything from your property, doesn't produce anything. If I owned a farm and we're making money on the property, then you should be assessed on what you make. But we're just paying money because we live here, basically.
No, I totally agree. I think
And the whole
that,
thing is-
it's a very subjective system. It's, there's a lot of arbitrary decisions that go into place. You know, it's an expensive way of raising taxes. I think the county should have, you know, been addressing, well, is there a better way to raise the taxes to pay for our schools in our county, as opposed to trying to fix the system that's
Right.
essentially broken. But they didn't, so now we're stuck with two bad choices, and we have to figure out which one's the best for everybody of those two bad ones.
Well, thank you. I just hope it gets on the agenda before.
Oh, it will be on the agenda. We will make a decision,
Yeah.
one way or another before the end of April.
One other thing I want to mention has nothing to do with taxes. It has to do with the former Fletcher property. It's spring is coming, the daffodils are coming up. It's going to be picnic time soon. It'd be really nice if there was a couple of picnic tables at the Fletcher property. I've mentioned this before, and I understand in the winter, you're not going to put it in the winter, but now would be a real great time to put a couple of benches out there so people can actually have a place to sit besides walking around, because there's plenty of places to walk around, but there's no really seating area or anything like that. So I hope that we can do that soon.
All right, thanks.